This episode of Drawn to It podcast is brought to you by Cat Animation Online Art School, offering their students high-quality mentoring by experienced, caring professionals in animation, story design, and much more at very affordable prices. Beginning and advanced classes and mentoring slots for the spring semester of 2021 are forming now. Don't miss the opportunity to learn and grow from Disney-trained animators and artists currently working in the animation industry. Visit www.cat-animation.com for details about their unique school, their distinguished faculty, and how to apply for future classes or mentoring. They look forward to working with you in the near future. Hey, welcome back. Today we're talking with Robyn Daly. She's a 3D animator generalist, but also a YouTube content creator, making tons of instructional how-to animation videos right here on Drawn to It podcast. So I would like to know, what was your spark from your childhood that sort of planted that seed for you to grow up and become so infatuated with the creative process and animation, drawing, just creativity in general?
I think it was kind of the escapism of it, because when you're creating something like that's all you're thinking about. And I'm actually quite obsessive about whatever project I'm currently working on. So I literally wake up thinking about it. I go to sleep thinking about it. So for me, it's definitely, it's that escape, and it's kind of a form of therapy, because you can put all your feelings and everything into that and kind of just keep them there rather than carrying them around with you. So yeah, from a young age, that's kind of what it was for me.
Right. Was it, because I relate to that. I share that escapism route. Now, for me, it was because growing up, I was in a broken home situation, and I just was always looking for a way out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you relate to that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny, eh? Us, yeah, it's really interesting. I talked to a lot of creatives who had that. They fell into creativity, whether it's drawing, painting, singing, whatever it might be, for that reason, to sort of escape what was happening every day at home. So I find that very interesting. I'm always relieved to hear somebody else say that. And then I feel bad because I'm like, yes, somebody else went through that. And I'm like, oh, that's not a good thing to say, you know? So, but no. So, well, that's cool. And when you were in high school, when did it start to form in your mind that it was something you wanted to really pursue? Like for whether it's professional level, that type of thing?
I think I always wanted to do something creative. It wasn't even a consideration that I wouldn't end up doing something creative, whatever it was. I did toy with the idea of becoming a vet and, that sort of thing, but deep down, I always knew that I wouldn't actually do that. I would have to do something creative. It was just picking what would be stable enough, because also back then when I was in school, like nothing creative seemed like a stable career, and everyone kind of saw creatives as, the starving artist, that sort of trope. It's obviously different now, but back then it was like that. So it was just a case of finding what it would be that I would be doing.
Yeah. And did you have a support system in the high school years? Because now in high school, my son's doing 3D printing and modeling and coding and all this. And
That's amazing.
Like, we didn't have it. We were carving in linoleum and then dipping it in paint and going, print. That was it,
We didn't even get to do that. That's already like super cool compared to me. We just painted with acrylics. That was the extent of it. We drew with pencil and we painted with acrylic, and that was it.
Yeah, we did a lot of those little hockey puck watercolors too.
Yeah.
Did you have those? Yeah.
Exactly, yes.
So lame. Yeah. No, but now they've got 3D printers in the schools, and I feel like there are a bunch of Tony Starks in there with holograms and just,
Yeah.
and he comes home and he's like, Dad, how do I? I'm like, I don't know. You're already 20 years past me,
Yeah.
but, so you're in high school and, obviously high school comes and goes, but then you're left with this decision. What do I do with the rest of my life? And what was that kickoff point for you? Like what were the first few steps?
Um, it's kind of a letdown because it wasn't like this huge epiphany or anything. I kind of just fell into animation because I knew, like I said, I wanted to do something creative.
Hmm.
So I was actually going to do a BA in fine arts, but I felt like, I didn't feel like there were that many options for me once I'd, completed the course. So then I looked at graphic design, but it just seemed a little boring. And then the only thing I could really think of, I was obsessed with Tim Burton and The Nightmare Before Christmas. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just decided, like on a whim, I'm going to try and find an animation school and become an animator just because it was the only thing I could actually really think of that would be like a valid career.
Yeah. And where did you go to animation college?
It was a place called City Varsity. It was actually the only place in my city where I lived at that time. So
Hmm.
it was the only place I could find that I could go to.
Well, you say that as if every city has an animation college, but I mean, I know when I graduated high school, I had to go 3 hours outside of my city and that was like the first year it was being offered. Uh, Beyond that, I'd have to go to a totally different province.
Yeah.
So you were quite fortunate to have someplace that local that was teaching animation at all.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
definitely.
And what type of techniques were they teaching? The real limited graphic stuff or full on feature film approach?
It wasn't feature film. It was more general. So I am a 3D generalist because we just learned
Hmm.
generally the whole process. We did do some script writing and storyboarding, and a little bit of everything was touched on. We also did some motion graphics and a little bit of 2D in first year. So I got a little bit of everything, but none of that sort of feature film, like specializing in any one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, do you think people should be specialists or generalists?
It really depends on where they want to go with their lives and their careers because I quite enjoy being a generalist. And I've said this before
Hmm.
in my videos because I get bored really easily. So
Yeah.
I don't feel like for me it would be a good fit to be. So it depends on some people and where they want to go with their careers. Obviously, if they want to work in film or series, then you do need to be a specialist usually because that's who they're hiring for that level of what they're looking for. But for me, I'm happy being a generalist.
Yeah. Yeah. I, uh, I recently had a situation where I had always thought like I was here, or at least since I worked for Disney, I thought I was at a certain level and that if I applied for a job, I'd stand a pretty good chance of getting it. And recently I applied to be an animator on a very high quality Netflix show. And it was pointed out to me that my portfolio is very generalist animation. So animations on it, I was told look good, but they don't show that specialization in character interaction and real deep acting moments and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely since my eyes were open to that, I actually had to think, well, do I even want to do that?
Mm.
Is that what I want? And I think, like you just said, I'm actually quite happy to be at that sort of generalist, 2D and some 3D here and there. But the point is, not everybody can be that specialist and always work on the A level productions. And that doesn't mean you suck or don't suck. It just means you've put hours into developing skill A or B, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was a bit of a letdown for me at first. So it hit me. I'm like, oh, Geez, really? And then,
Yeah.
but then I thought, like, because he said now when I heard it, I thought, oh, I can totally do that. And then I went away and I was talking with my wife, and I'm like, do I want to do that? Like, it just sort of seems like I don't want to do that, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, have you had moments on projects where you had to wrestle with your motivation to work on it? Like you were committed, so you didn't have the opportunity to back out, but you really didn't want to work on that project.
I get that really often. I
Yeah.
recently, at the end of last year, there was this massive project that I was working on, and I would literally sit crying some nights because I so badly did not want to be working on this nightmare project. I lost like 10 kilos. I hated my life the whole time, but you just have to push through and get it done.
Yeah. Yeah. It can be so stressful. Uh, some people would listen to that and say, really, you cried over working on cartoons? I got to tell you, I've cried over working on cartoons. I've cried over working on tests for
Yeah.
cartoons.
Yeah.
It can be really stressful. And that's because as artists, I mean, we care about, well, you should care anyway. I'm sure there are a lot of artists out there that have the ability to turn off the emotion switch and just they're happy to submit garbage and get a paycheck. But a lot of us care about, well, these people are going to have a certain opinion of me after I do this work for them.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure you do a good job, right?
Exactly.
All
Definitely.
the while, you're like, oh my God, I hate this project.
Yep. And the
So it's a
clients are
real,
just, oh,
oh yeah. Well, clients with specific feedback at the right time are amazing, but they're about one in every 10,000.
hmm.
And then it's all like clients with feedback that should have came like 3 stages ago, or and you're just like,
Exactly. Yes.
yeah. That's why I shaved my head down. I just got tired of pulling my hair out.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's more of a stressful industry than a lot of people think. And I think that would surprise people because really at the end of the day, it's just cartoons, right? We're
Yes.
not saving lives. And we get very worked up. I do think animators, we take ourselves a little too seriously in this trade. Like we romanticize it to, uh, geez, I don't know what a parallel would be, but we sort of, it's a thing and we're part of it and we're working our way up within this very special thing. And really you're just making cartoons,
Yeah.
so
But you wouldn't think, your producers and directors, I mean, they don't see it that way either when they're pushing you to meet these
right.
deadlines. And it's like someone is going to die if you do not meet this deadline.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been on animation teams where the whole team has been like just screamed at, like a drill sergeant screaming at new recruits, by producers who are like tapping on the paper. And we're just it's too much.
Yeah.
But uh, what's when you first started in the industry? What was that one job that got you going, thinking, "Oh, I can really make a go of this as a career"?
I don't know if it was any one specific job. It was just that I managed to get a job and then I stayed at that job and I kind of just worked my way up and it seemed like I was doing really well at it. So I was like, okay, sweet, this will be my career now.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool because getting that first job is, I mean, that's everything.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that first acceptance. Oh, they think I'm good enough. You're just like,
Exactly.
yeah, and then you get all full of piss and vinegar, and you want to tackle everything, and you're given like, okay, your assignment, this petal has to fall from the rose, and you're like, oh yeah, but it's gonna fall like no other petal has fallen before. You just wait. Like, no, listen, butthead. You've got X amount of frames, and we need this ASAP. just make it fall. You're like, I know what you want. It's just like, no, it's going to fall and loop and flip back on itself. See what I did there? And then it's coming down, right? And notice that little settle at the end. We're like, listen,
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
yeah, yeah. And I forget how long that it took for that to get beaten out of me.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I was pretty thick-headed about that for quite a while. No, we can be our own worst critics, yes, but we can also be our own worst enemy if we don't know how to manage our own imagination scope
Yeah.
when we're given a scene, right? Have you had scenes like that where you wanted to blow it up into this amazing thing that really didn't fit the rest of what came before or after?
Honestly, I used to, but now I kind of just, I know how to limit myself professionally, like with work, but with my personal projects, it is the same. I get so carried away with my personal projects, and what's meant to be like this, like little short becomes like a 10, 15-minute thing that I now have to go and like ruthlessly cut down because I've got so into it. So it's a problem more with my personal projects than with the professional ones now.
Yeah, and that's a real hard skill to learn. I don't even know if it's a skill so much as a mindset, but the idea that it's okay for your drawings to hit the floor and not get picked back up, using old school traditional metaphors here, but not everything you do is God's gift to animation.
Yeah.
And you have to be okay with saying, all right, well, this 6 hours worth of work I just did doesn't work.
Yep.
So it's gone.
Yeah.
I found that took me quite a while to get used to that, because it's the ego in you, right? It's that little kid, like, I drew this, so it should go up on the fridge.
Yes.
Right? Well, no, it shouldn't, because the person next to you spent 15 minutes and they drew something way better.
Exactly.
So that's going on the fridge.
Yeah. I just hate the waste more than anything. It's just the waste of that time and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is something we have to get used to.
Well, I found my thinking really shifted on that during my first year at Disney, where my supervisor and mentor he really drilled it into my head that all of these wasted time things are like the paving stones on that pathway to the right idea, right? Because I kept thinking about it like, God, if I keep not doing the right thing, they're gonna fire me, So the next thing, I have to make it 10 times better, and I wasn't fully aware of that developmental process. How an idea can be bad, just like an underdrawing or a pose. You keep working away at it, and your first pass is and then you do a pass over that, and it becomes and then one more pass, and you're like, oh hell yeah, right? So that process exists within all aspects of animation, and I think a lot of newbies find that real hard to get used to, because they tend to be a little more precious with the first round. Yeah. So what advice would you give them?
I think first of all, they actually just maybe need to plan a little better, especially with new animators. I think that's also why they want to hold on to it so much, because they spend so much time on their initial ideas, but they didn't actually go and storyboard it. They just kind of maybe did a few rough sketches, but then they went and spent 20 hours animating it, and then they don't want to let go of it when they could have just cut down that time by planning a little better.
Yeah. And thumbnail.
Exactly.
Yeah. And show your thumbnails both not only to your peers, but your supervisors and that type of thing. It will cut down on so much trial and error.
Yes.
Now, that being said, I have talked to people, like some of the big animation people that worked on like the Disney animated films of the 80s and 90s, and a couple of them were like, "Oh no, I didn't thumbnail anything. I don't believe in it." And I couldn't wrap my head around that. I'm like, how do you not thumbnail? I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, because
Yeah,
obviously you're up there and
yeah.
I'm down here, but I can't wrap my brain around not thumbnailing.
I think some people are just actually animation geniuses though, and they can
Yeah,
just they see it in their head and then they freaking do it and it looks amazing. But I am not one of those people. And most
yeah,
people not one of those people. So I still suggest people plan thumbnail. Yeah.
yeah. I agree. I'm not one of those people either, and it takes me, like, I still do 3 or 4 underdrawings when I'm working a pose out.
Yeah.
I can't just draw. Okay, this is the pose, done.
Yeah.
I've got to find it. You know,
Yeah,
but
no, definitely. Me too.
yeah. So what's out there now that really has you psyched for inspiration?
One thing really, really inspiring to me is Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beasts. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is
I've
so
heard of
good.
it.
I just love the style of it. I love the music. Everything about it is just so great. So yeah, that's just been sitting in my head for a long time. And something that always inspires me is actually the Gorillas. I actually listen to their music a lot while I'm working, and I just
Yeah,
stylistically, I just love them so much. I'm pretty much obsessed because I just think everything about them is genius. So yeah, those are my two big inspirations at the moment.
very cool. Yeah, I like that style. Very graphic.
Yes.
The Wonder Beasts. Yeah. Well, the gorillas are very graphic too, and they're animated videos.
Yes,
So
yes.
you have a
I think that
tendency to
strong
lean
line work
towards.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. So with a film like Soul, which would sort of be at the opposite end of that spectrum, with the exception of I don't know if you've seen it, but they have these graphic line creatures.
I haven't
Uh,
seen.
It's really interesting. They might be the only character in the movie you might like, because you tend to go towards that hard line graphic,
Yeah.
like visual wow impact
Yes.
of something. Yeah. No, and when you were starting out in the industry, were you still, what was that where you gravitated towards, or were you more into the whatever the popular film might be?
No, I've always gravitated towards more graphic, very stark, bright colors. I've
Yeah.
always loved that. I like the halftone effects. If people can bring it into animation, I've been working on some things myself, trying to bring it in a little bit more. Yeah, bringing graphic novels to life to me is very appealing, and those sorts of, animations, they do it really well.
Yeah.
I've always loved that. Yeah.
Yeah, years ago there was a project that almost happened. I was talking with a wrestler called Ultimate Warrior. I don't know if you heard of him, but
Okay.
he was big in the '80s, and he had a whole line of comic books, and he wanted to turn them into semi-animated graphic novels. Where the character is still, but the cape is flapping, like a lot of After Effects kind of stuff. Just when that was starting to become popular. And anyway, it ended up not happening, because he ended up saying to me, "You should want to work on this for free, because it's me." And I was
Oh,
like,
okay, cool.
I'm
Must be
not
nice
sure.
being moved.
Yeah. So it ended up not working out, but I'm a big fan of graphic novels being animated, because it's a real challenge to decide what you're going to animate versus what's going to have that held cell. And if it's done right, it can be very, very, very impactful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's excellent. So your videos, they're pretty cool.
Thank you.
What got you going on those?
Lockdown actually got me going on them.
Yeah, yeah,
I had all this spare time. I mean, I was still working, but I was cutting out all that traffic time. So I had like a couple more hours in my day. I had a bit more energy, and it was something I've actually wanted to do for a long time. So I was like, why not just do it now?
yeah, yeah. And how are you finding the challenge of growing the audience?
I thought it would be harder, to be honest. I mean, I never had much success on social media with, Facebook and Instagram. I would post my work and my animations and my art and stuff, and I've never really had success with any of that sort of stuff. So I really did not expect it to be as easy as it has been. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, I'm not one of those people who now have like 1 million followers in a few months, but it was a lot easier than I thought it would be. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you're gonna have to share your secret with me because I find it very challenging. I don't know the first thing about social media, and I just can't seem to crack the whatever the algorithms are, and they keep changing every week.
It
And
is really difficult. Yeah. But I
yeah,
think a big thing is SEO because I have worked on, as a sort of a side thing, I've been doing SEO for websites and stuff like that. So I kind of just brought that knowledge over into the YouTube stuff. And it
there it
seems
is.
like it's really important because YouTube is a search engine. So if you
Right,
can optimize that, then you'll get good traction, I think.
right. SEO, something else I know nothing about. Yeah. Okay. Let me write that down. That's okay. But they've caught on, and are you finding they're becoming a second career path for you, or is it still hobby-esque, or where do you plan to take those?
It's still very much a hobby for me. I mean, it would have to grow massively to sort of become another career path, especially
Hmm.
where I am in my career now. I mean, I wouldn't want to, start doing YouTube full time, at least not now, not anytime soon, but it's
Yeah,
something that I am still enjoying. I do have a tendency to hop hobbies, so we'll have to see, but I am still enjoying it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's another trait I've been finding with my guests. We're all bumblebees, like we go flower to flower. And
Yes.
some of us more harshly than others, but I know, like for myself, I'm very much like, oh, new idea, and off I go.
Exactly. Yes.
And meanwhile, there was nothing wrong with the other idea.
Yeah.
Maybe like my wife yells at me because I've started three uh, properties, and she says if you just stuck with this one by now, you would have this much audience and it'd be super well known. I'm like, yeah, but my brain doesn't work like that.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's not that you end up not liking the old idea, it's just new idea and off you go.
Yeah, it's a new,
Yeah,
fresh change. It gets a little stale after a while when you're doing the same thing.
yeah. Well, especially if you feel like it isn't going anywhere, right?
Yes.
And doing something like this podcast for me was meant to be um, a hobby that I couldn't make money off of because I have a tendency to try to turn every idea I have into some way to generate revenue for the family.
I do the exact
So,
same thing. Yeah.
okay, so you understand what I'm saying.
Yes.
Um, However, now, like, there are, despite the fact that the audience is still in this infant stage and it's growing, we're getting contacted by PR firms that represent directors, and there are sponsorship opportunities. So the ideas become corrupt from what the
Yes.
original motivation was, but in a good way that it keeps me engaged. I
Mm.
want to keep doing it, right?
Yes.
So I don't have that sense of it not going anywhere. Where a lot of
Exactly.
my other ideas, they just you feel like you're spinning your wheels, and then
Yes. And
you're
it's not going anywhere. I get exactly what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. Well, your videos so are going somewhere. And I find they're so well, how much planning are you putting into them? Because they're incredibly well done. And you come off when you're doing it, they frustrate me, to be honest, because I'm watching, I'm like, she just knows exactly what to do at every single second. There's no screw up at all. And that I know that's not my creative process.
No.
I'm screw up, screw up, screw up. Oh, there we go. That's how I do it, right?
Yes,
So,
no, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of planning. I script them, I research all of them because I will never allow myself to live it down if I say something that is untrue or, say
right.
something as if it's a fact and it's not. So I make sure that I'm meticulously researched. I script it out. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot of editing and cuts and everything. It's a lot of work, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there is so much editing involved
Yeah.
when you're a content creator. So much editing. I feel like I could probably get a job as an editor now.
Oh, yes,
You
definitely.
know, it's just there's so much involved. And then, some episodes are very straightforward. And then you have other videos where it's like you're cutting away to other clips and you've got to know the frame to go in and out. And, I will never look at an editor the same way
No.
since I've started developing videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, yours, they're so polished and,
Thank,
frustrating to watch.
thank you. I'm so sorry.
Well, it's just I when I watch them, I'm like, does she practice? Like, does she do like 2 or 3 practice runs? Or wow, she's so good. It just everything. She knows exactly what to do, and just I just wish that was my approach. But I imagine in a real production thing, like process, you have that, oh, I'm gonna try this, oh, that didn't work out like I thought it would, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna redo it. Yeah.
I do.
Okay.
I do. I actually, I watch myself while I'm recording. So if I don't like the take, then I will cut it and I will do it again. And I do them several times over. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
definitely not an easy breezy little ad lib quick filming session. No.
Yeah. Well, they are excellent and I'm a big fan of them. And
Thank
I'm always looking to learn from peers. So whenever I see somebody like yourself who's putting content out there, I try to soak it up and just, appreciate the effort that went into it and also look for those learning opportunities. Because that's another thing. People who are just getting into the industry, if you could just take a moment and try to calm that inner ego voice that's trying to fight to be seen and recognized versus learning to appreciate the talent you're around and soak up the information instead of trying to trump it with your own attempt.
you.
And that's something that really has to get beaten into you when you're starting out in the industry because everybody wants to prove themselves, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you had moments on a production where those self realizations where you're like, okay, I got to pause myself because I'm not all that. I need to look at what they're doing. There's a learning opportunity here.
Definitely a lot of it happens all the time. It's also you work on one project and you like did really great at it and everyone loved it and stuff, and then you move on to the next one and you like failed dismally and you're like, oh, okay, I needed that because I
Yeah.
was feeling great about myself and now I don't anymore. I really needed that. So
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
And how are you at receiving praise over your work?
I'm a little bit awkward about it.
Yeah.
I look at the stuff I do actually, and everyone, like when people are like praising it and saying how great it is, I'm the person who's like, what are you talking about? Like, it looks like
Yeah.
crap to me,
Yeah.
but cool, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. I say cool, thank you, because I feel like that's what I've been taught to say in those
Yes,
moments. I don't feel that. I
exactly.
feel you're wrong. because
Yes.
I can see 100 mistakes without even trying, and it's
Yes.
nowhere near as good as so and so.
Exactly. Yes.
That's what's in my head all the time.
Yes. And I'm kind of just waiting for them to realize that and be like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, you are really shit. So you're fired. We
But
changed our
how
minds.
horrible would that be, though, if they're like, they come back, they're like, listen, remember when I said, no, I realized I was wrong. You were right. It's crap. And
Yeah.
anyway, it's been nice, you know. But part of us wishes for that. We're like,
Yeah.
please just see how bad it really is because I
Exactly.
see it. It's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I had the worst imposter syndrome while working at the Disney studios. Wasn't a day I showed up where I didn't think, oh, they're gonna realize I don't belong here. You
I
know.
can't imagine. I think I would feel exactly the same way. I don't even think I would even have the confidence to go in on my first day. So well done to you because I would be terrified.
Well, I was terrified. I'm a very high anxiety person. I deal with general anxiety and social anxiety disorder. So my trigger every day of my life is like walking through a minefield. I'm just trying to avoid a panic attack,
Mm-hmm.
and that I gotta tell you, I had a panic attack during my interview. And I'm talking like one of those heavy sweating, and I'm a big guy already. So big fat guy sitting there sweating, just, you know, clothes sticking, and I'm just right, trying to just make it through. And I told them I was stupid. Was one of my first comments, and the producer, she goes, "Are you starting off your interview by telling us you're stupid?" Yeah, straight up. Like, okay, let's move on. So, but I mean, it really was a fearful moment, but it did change over time. I started to see that I did contribute, and I think that goes back to, I think all people starting out in the industry, and by the way, this wasn't even me starting out. I've been in it for 15 years, but not at that level, right?
Yeah.
So when you're about to step into like a new leveled up situation, it will make you question, like, do I deserve to be here? And God bless the people who can, in a healthy way, go, yeah, I deserve to be. You know what? I should have been here 3 months ago. But I can't relate to that thinking. I'm like, well, I shouldn't be here. Maybe I should go.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
more. And but I've talked to a lot of people in the animation industry who have that way of thinking. And I wonder what drives us as creatives to get involved in an industry where we don't want to be judged. And yet we're in an industry where every frame of what we create is under high scrutiny.
Yeah.
It seems a little counterproductive to good mental health, you know?
Right? Maybe we're just masochists. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. Uh, I, I don't know what it is, but a lot of us share it, and it's sort of, and it's funny how many of us in the industry come from um, a background where things weren't perfect at home, and there were, I'm sure Freud would just love the animation industry,
I think
to
he
get
would.
all of us on his couch, but. Yeah. So what's in the future for you? 2021 is here. You've already embarked on the video content creator journey. 2021 is here. Uh, where is it going to take you in terms of professional projects and content creation?
At the moment, I don't really know. I'm still getting to grips with the fact that it is 2021 and things are starting to get rolling again, projects coming in. And I'm still trying to find my feet in the new year, so I don't have
Mm-hmm.
any plans really. I want to grow my channel as much as possible. I've got a few personal projects that I'm working on that I want to finish up. Professionally, I kind of just take whatever comes.
Yeah.
I don't have any plans or anything. Whatever comes, I will do. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't have anything set in stone. I don't really do like New Year's resolutions or goals anymore because that just kind of puts pressure on myself and then I feel like a failure if I'm not meeting them fast enough. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to take the days as they come, especially with the way last year was. Like, I don't want to make any plans that I then feel like I failed at if I can't make them happen. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that way too. The only question I had in my head that I had scripted for you was for 2021 or for 2020, what had you sort of outlined as your milestones creatively and professionally? And then how far short or how far in excess did you meet them? Because I think a lot of us got hit hard and didn't meet any of them because of the whole pandemic thing. But it's been a really good year for some, and they found like one of my past guests got a film deal on episode 2 of his independent comic book.
wow, that's
So
amazing.
yeah, I heard that tone of voice. You're like, oh,
Chips.
that's just episode 2, really? But hey, that's a natural way to think, and we're all like, "How does that happen so easy like that?" But
Yeah.
yeah. But no, but for yourself, like, what did 2020 impact you on the most?
Well, I started out 2020 with, again, no plans really. And then COVID happened and I just started to, my YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Um, and that just took off. And then that obviously became my focus. I stopped really doing my other creative hobbies and stuff. And I was putting a lot of focus into my YouTube channel. And then my goal was to get 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, which I did and went over. So that was my goal done. It wasn't
that's
like
so great.
massive one, but I did it and I'm
Yeah,
pretty happy with it. So yeah.
great. 1,000. That's my dream goal. Subscribers. The episodes do fairly well in terms of feedback. I get so many emails from episodes saying what they meant to them, and
Mm,
they got so inspired, and it fills me up. I'm like, oh my god, this is incredible. Like every day I wake up to new emails,
yeah.
and then when I go and I check the numbers, I'm like, the numbers aren't reflecting the amount of positive feedback that I'm getting on these episodes. So I got to look into this SEO stuff that you're talking about because it seems like you've cracked the code. So the envy is growing within me.
I definitely look at SEO though, seriously, because I
Yeah,
think it will make a massive difference. Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, all right. So 2021, you'll take whatever comes professionally to pay the bills. And personally, you're going to keep growing that YouTube channel, which we'll put a link to below the write up and all that stuff. But
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. What's the new video that you're planning?
At the moment, I've got one coming out. It was meant to come out on Wednesday, but I don't think I'll meet that deadline. It's on the different careers and job roles that people can go into in CG and animation. So if you're not really
Yeah.
interested in being an animator per se, there are still a bunch of other things that people can do in the industry.
Well, that's such a great important topic because um, when I was teaching 3D animation last year, I had to really break it down for the students because they would ask, "How do you do this and how do you do that?" And I'd be like, "What you're asking is a whole career all
Yeah.
by itself." And and it was a real hard thing for the students to wrap their brain around. They were, wait a minute, you're saying that you can just be a rigger or lighting artist, or I'm like, yeah, it's a whole career by itself. And we're doing very broad strokes at a high level, and then when you decide what you want to specialize in, you sort of go down that road with self-directed learning. But you're doing mostly character animation, are you?
I do a little bit of everything really.
Yeah.
We actually work on a lot of VR stuff at the moment. I do
That's
commercial
interesting.
animation, but yeah, so the company that I work for, we kind of do all sorts of digital media. So VR,
Yeah.
AR, animated videos, 3D, 2D, motion graphics, VFX. It's a little bit of everything. So I kind of have a finger in all of those pies.
Oh man, that's so exciting. AR is like really that's really exciting stuff because I've seen really good AR stuff. And I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm alive in this point in history when,
Yeah, right?
it like back in the day, a pop-up book blew people's minds,
Yeah.
right? And now you're like, oh yeah, look at this. There's a monster right there. No, you can't see it. Look through here. It's there, Um, and I've been thinking about getting a VR headset because there's a modeling program for VR, and
Yeah.
I'm very keen to try it out. Um, but I, it just costs so much to get into it. Uh, those they're not cheap. Those toys,
They are not, no.
they're not
But
cheap.
they are very fun.
They
And you
are
can,
very fun.
yeah, once you get into them, they're very cool. I mean, I love mine.
Yeah.
So I'm not
So
saying
what do
buy it.
you have? What one do you have?
I've got the original Quest, not the
Okay.
new one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to figure out, should I get the Rift, the Quest 2? I don't know. The modeling program, I think it's on the original Quest, but I don't know if it's like if Quest 2 is retro to previous,
No,
like,
you can use the original ones you can use on the Quest 2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that
And you
might
can
be
use
the
it
way
on
I go.
you can use it on a Rift 2 as well, actually. But I would go with the
Yeah.
Quest because it's untethered, so
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's and so have you ever done the modeling with the VR stuff?
I have. It's really, really, really difficult. It's very
Is
difficult
it?
to get your head around because it's almost like you're a real sculptor, but you still have to move around in VR, so
Right.
it's difficult to get used to. I haven't
Yeah.
mastered it.
Because I found ZBrush. ZBrush was it had this intuitiveness in
Mhm.
terms of you felt like you were moving clay, but
Yes,
just enough software bullshit to screw you up.
exactly.
Like it
Yes,
just I don't know. It was a real yin and yang of, oh, this is great versus, oh my God, I hate it. You know?
exactly. I preferred Mudbox when it was
Yeah.
still a thing. I just found that easier to get my head around than ZBrush. But yeah, I know what you're saying. ZBrush was also amazing in its own way.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to seeing what 2021 will bring out of you for your new videos and that type of thing. And now that you've been a guest on the podcast, if there's ever anything you want me to share, just give me a heads up and I'll put it out there. And yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for being on. And also, let me know any links at all that you want included in the write up. And if there's any work you've done that you want me to intercut, just send it over.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thank you. Well,
great. All right.
cool.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye bye. We want to hear from you. Go to dtipodcast.com. Check out all of our social media links. Leave comments, like, subscribe, all that stuff. It really helps. We have more great guests coming up here on Drawn to It Podcast.